Hey, good morning. It's fresh and breezy, a bit like me. That doesn't work. Anyway, welcome to Module 2. We've got a whole bunch of exciting stuff to go through, but a little bit of house cleaning first. I want to go over how I teach, my teaching methods, how we're going to actually write our code, and the difference between proper code writing and writing scripts, which is what we're going to start doing, and the things we're going to cover in this module. So let's get in.
Hey, I thought we'd quickly go over what's in Module 2. So we're going to go over what code we're going to learn, my teaching style, and then the difference between coding and scripting, a little bit of housekeeping at the end. So in this module, we're going to go over 3 coding, fundamental coding blocks. The first is going over the same thing over and over again, so repeating things. The second is making a decision with an if statement. Shall we do this or shall we do that? And then the third one is introduction to randomness, where we can decide if we're going to do something or not. And then how we put those 3 things together. And that's a sort of a foundation on coding. And from that you can build on quite a lot, which we'll do in modules 3 and 4. So the other thing I quickly wanted to cover is my teaching style. And before we start on the teaching style, I just want to say that I'm not really in the role of a teacher where you're the student. I'm not here to teach you things. You're kind of coming here to pick up and learn from what I'm showing you, what I'm doing. We're equals here. This isn't a sort of me teacher, you student type of thing. We're all artists, and the thing that we try to do is just share knowledge. So that's what this is all about. Having said that, this is how I go about teaching things, which is I'm going to say the same thing or talk about the same topic like 3 times from a slightly different angle. So the next video, or the one after, I'm going to introduce loops, and I'm going to explain what they are, and then I'm going to demonstrate it, and then I'll demonstrate it slightly differently, and then from a 3rd time. And then at the end of the video, we'll then talk about what you could do and sort of exercises for the reader, which you could go into. But the reason why I do that is quite often things don't click for someone on the first time round, and maybe for you it does, and you watch the first bit of the video and go, okay, I've got it now, I don't need to watch Daniel explain it another 2 or 3 times. But for somebody else, they might need that extra one. So polar coordinates, you might be, I've got this, but then when we got into percentages, you might appreciate me going over a few times. So that's my teaching style. Say what we're going to do, show it once, again, and then a 3rd time, and then some extra stuff at the end. So if you want to skip to the end of the video when we go through these things, that's perfectly all right. You don't have to watch me over-explain things like I'm doing right now, see? So that's my teaching style. Now let's talk about different styles of coding. We're going to go over to the table, which is why I keep looking up there. Come on. I want to talk just a little bit about my philosophy of coding as an artist. And it's basically this. The end result is all that matters. It doesn't matter how you get there. Your job is to create art. And the code you use to create it can be super messy. It doesn't need to be efficient. It doesn't even need to be good. It's the end result that matters. I know many artists who aren't the best coders, and I know many brilliant coders who aren't the best artists. The coding doesn't matter, the end result does. So we're always going to be starting with what you want to achieve and then working out how you get there. So here's an example, and this is just the way I think. This isn't like a standard coding thing, but I'll show you what I think. So there is proper coding, in quotes, which is where you have an application or some code and you start it, and it runs and it sits there and it reads in some files from the cloud and then some files here, and it waits for people to do things, and people ask it to do stuff and tell it to do stuff, or maybe it responds to something happening outside, sensors, things like that. And then it just keeps running on the computer, writes stuff to a database, writes things out to a file, and it ends one of 2 ways. Either the person exits, they quit the program and it exits properly, or something happens and it crashes and it dies. But the idea behind a program is it sits there on the computer running, doing stuff and waiting for input to come in so it can respond to it. That's proper coding. And there's all sorts of best practices and ways of doing this. We'll probably eventually move towards this a little bit as we go, but we're going to start over here with scripting. This looks a little bit complicated, so let me explain that just a touch. So when you talk about a script, think of it as a play. So the script starts at the beginning and it says an actor comes in, they say a few lines, another actor comes in, they say a few more lines, this actor leaves stage left, another person comes in, and you go through until you reach the end of the play. And then each night you run through that script and exactly the same thing happens with maybe a bit of improv here or there, maybe something goes wrong, but you start at the top of the script and you work all your way down. So here, let me think about this. Maybe a better example is a pinball machine where you pull the plunger back, it fires the ball up, and then the ball bounces around and it does lots of different things, but ultimately it's going to end up dropping down the bottom. Might have taken different routes to get there, and each time it responds to different things, but it starts at the top of the table and it slowly works its way down until it finishes. So we come in, we make a decision. We might go this way, we might go this way, and then we do this thing several times, making decisions that maybe we jump across here, or maybe we'll go all the way to here, make some more decisions, and then jump down to here, and then do a thing, do another thing, and do a thing, and spit out the file. Or we might go back over to here, go round and round and round, and then do these things, or come down to here. We could even go all the way back up to the top and start this whole process again. Also, a bit like a choose your own adventure. So this is what I'm talking about doing loops and if statements. You could start at the top, you might go this way, and then do this 1,000 times, and then pop over here and do this 100 times, and go back over. And you sort of work your way down all these loops and if statements, and then at the end, you spit out a text file, which is your SVG file. This is what we're going to be doing. It might not look beautiful. Your script might end up being incredibly long when you jump around all over the place. People might say it's not the most elegant coding, but if it gets the job done, it doesn't matter. And your script might have hundreds of if statements, if this, do this, and then if do this, and if do this. As long as it outputs what you want and gets you where you want to be, it doesn't matter. We're going to be doing this. Eventually, we might move to this. Code, script. We're doing scripts. Right, let's show you this. The other thing that I want to mention now is we're going to be spending a lot of time over in coding corner for the rest of this module. So it's going to be recording off the screen and me in a little square down in the corner somewhere, probably around here. And then we'll be switching over to where the drawing machine is, probably here, and maybe some more stuff over here. But when we're working on the screen, we're going to be doing, hold on. All right, that's a little bit better. So what you're going to see is over the next few videos, we're going to be doing stuff coding in the browser, and it's going to seem like there could be a better way of doing things, and there is. We'll introduce a slightly better way of doing things in Module 3, and then an even better way of doing things in Module 4. If you're a coder, you're probably going to go, you know what, I'm going to switch to the better way of doing it, but I don't want to introduce too many new concepts straight away at the beginning. So while it may seem a little bit clunky to start off with, just bear with me on that one, okay? It will get better later on. All right, well, see you in the next video when we set up a template. All right.